Hello again and welcome to another Warhammer 40k Imperial Guard Tactics video, and boy oh boy do we live in exciting times. It's an exciting tactics video today, guys, because what we're going to be talking about, what I'm going to be doing is summarising and covering all of the recent changes that the Imperial Guard has received from the balanced data slate, from the points update. We're going to touch upon the secondaries, although if you want to see my full secondary analysis, check out the video that will be linked at the end of this one. I've already done a video on that, and it's a deep dive on the new secondaries and my thoughts on them. But what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to look at the new points, the new things of the balanced data slate, and then tie them all together with a little summary on the secondaries, and then see where the Guard now stand. Because we have had some love, we've had some, well, not so much abuse, but a little bit of just maybe not love. But overall, I think we've ended up in quite a nice position from the balanced data slate. Now, I did cover a lot of this in the recent live streams that I did on my channel, but I totally appreciate that not everyone wants to go and watch a couple of 2 hour long, 3 hour long live streams to get all the detail. Sometimes you need a short, sharp information point where you can absorb the information, understand some of the implications, understand where I think that the Guard's now going, where the more sort of powerful routes are, and then just crack on with fighting the enemies of the Emperor. So that is the point of today's video. It's going to be short, it's going to be sharp, there's going to be good analysis, but we're going to keep it sweet and simple. So without any more waffle, without further ado, let's dive straight into today's video. Now, the pictures for today's videos are some screenshots of the key areas of the balanced data slate, and also I have summarised the points changes in a nice little text sort of format as well. So feel free to pause the video at any point and check out those screenshots. However, if you want to leave the video running and absorb the information, the points changes will be in the description of this video, and there will also be a link to the GW balanced data slate in the description of this video, so you can keep the video rolling whilst you check the information out. It's entirely up to you how you want to absorb the old data. Now, let's dive straight into this. So the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the key changes that we've received in the balanced data slate. We're going to cover the balanced data slate first, and then we're going to cover some of the points changes, and then we'll summarise it. So balanced data slate wise, one of the biggest things that we got straight out the gate is the fact that Astra Militarum vehicles now get access to Armour of Contempt. Previously, this was just for Adeptus Astartes, Sanctus Astartes, Heretic Astartes, and Adeptus Sororitas. Well, now our tanks get it as well, and this is massive. Now, for those that don't know what Armour of Contempt is, it's a recent rule that was introduced in the previous balanced data slate about 3 months ago, and it's a way to counter some of the AP creep we've seen in the game. So, for example, all of our vehicles have this rule now, so bear that in mind. That's from the lowliest Sentinel up to the mightiest Beyblade. Every single Astra Militarum vehicle has the following rule. Worsen the arm penetration characteristic of an attack by 1. That's a melee attack. That's a shooting attack. That is how it's just very simple. So if someone hits you with AP 1, that becomes AP 0. If someone hits you with AP 2, that becomes AP 1. Someone hits you with AP 3, that becomes AP 2. Basically, look at the AP value of the attack and worsen it by 1. Now, that doesn't mean that if someone hits you with an AP dash attack, you get +1 to save. No, it just worsens it. It doesn't improve your own save, so just be aware of that. Now, another couple of things to be aware of is this does not stack with other abilities that reduce or worsen the AP characteristic of an attack. So for those of you like me, who when they first saw this were like, oh my god, stack this with Armageddon Steel Legion. Sadly, that doesn't work, okay? Armageddon Steel Legion have an inbuilt sort of reduced AP by 1, plus combine it with this. People were thinking maybe you could ignore AP 1 and 2. You can't do that, boys, unfortunately. It very specifically says, models that are under the effects of other rule that worsens or reduces armor penetration characteristic of an attack, this rule does not apply to that. So it's very specific. So right now, the Armageddon Steel Legion trait is actually a little bit useless at the time of recording the video. Now, that may change. GW may release an FAQ for the Armageddon Steel Legion trait, but right now, basically, this is a better version of that trait for all Guard vehicles. Doesn't matter what regiment you are, because the Armageddon Steel Legion one was, if it's AP 1, it becomes AP 0, but if it's AP 2, it stays AP 2. This is all AP is reduced by 1, which is really, really good. It massively improves the durability of our vehicles. Now, another key durability improvement that our vehicles got is now any Astra Militarum vehicle with the Titanic keyword has a 2+ armor save. That's right. All of our Titanic vehicles now have the same armor save as our Lehman Russes. This is really, really good. It means your Beyblades are now on a 2-up save. It means that your Macariuses are now 2-up save. It means that the Marauder Destroyer, the Flying Super Heavy, is now on a 2-up save base. Now bear that in mind, this is an improvement that combines with Armour of Contempt, which means your Baneblade now, no matter what regiment you are, your Baneblade now has a 2+ save and reduces AP by 1. That is really, really tasty. So not only is this a good just overall durability improvement for our vehicles, but our Super Heavies have got a nice kick out of this as well. And it's really interesting. I think this actually makes Baneblades viable. Yeah, that's right. Don't pinch yourself. Mordian Glory just said he thinks it makes Baneblades viable. I don't think it makes them top tier. I don't think it makes them utter bunker busting. But I think you can now include a Baneblade in your army and not actually be penalised for doing it, not actually punished. Because bear in mind, this combines with a couple of other things. Like, for example, it combines with the fact that your ability to bring a Super Heavy and a Super Heavy Auxiliary detachment now costs no CP. That was one of the recent changes they made with Nephilim. Yes, you're starting with half as many CP, but to bring a Super Heavy costs 0 CP. Super Heavy Auxiliary detachments are 0 CP now, guys. So you can bring a Baneblade. It's not going to cost you a shitload of CP. It's got a 2-up save now, and it reduces AP by 1. That's really, really good. And overall, when we're talking about improvements to Baneblades and Super Heavies and that kind of good stuff, I think this means that the 2 regiments that are going to get the most out of their Baneblades now, out of their Super Heavies now, is going to be Frustorium and going to be Cadium, because both of those factions have access to a +1 to hit. If anything, I think Frustorium Baneblades just became really, really good, because you can spend 1 CP every single turn, which is half the amount of the equivalent Cadence stratagem. 1 CP every single turn on Firstborn Pride, and that makes your Baneblade hit on a 3+. Now, I think that Baneblades still need some kind of reduced damage thing. I think they need some kind of invulnerable save or reduce the amount of wounds they can take in a phase thing. I think they need a little bit more, but this goes a long way to solving the issue with Imperial Guard Super Heavies. Now, I like the way this combines with the Macarius, because the Macarius isn't as expensive as a Baneblade. Baneblades are still going to rock you about 450 points, but a Macarius is, I believe, about 200 to 300 points. For maybe 325 points. So you're looking at about 300 points Super Heavy, which now has got a better save, reduces AP. Macarius Vanquisher looks kind of tasty, and Macarius Battle Tank looks kind of tasty as well. So I really like the fact that this definitely breathes life into your Guard Super Heavies. Now, jumping ahead here a little bit, guys, but I want to talk about the Baneblade points change as well. I just want to touch upon that here. Baneblades actually got a little bit cheaper if you're taking them with the sponsons. So previously it was 50 points per sponson that you put in a Baneblade, and if you were taking sponsons, you either took 0, or you took 2, or you took 4. You couldn't just take like 1 or 3. So it used to be that to take a pair of sponsons on your Baneblade, and you really kind of needed to give them enough firepower, it used to cost you another 100 points. Now it only costs you 60 points. So Baneblades with sponsons have got cheaper, and they've got more durable, and they've got easier to take with CP, and they've got better if you can like give them some +1 to hit shenanigans. So Baneblades now, Super Heavies now in general, are really good. And just to be clear, when I talk about Baneblades, I'm talking about anything on the Baneblade chassis. It could be a Baneblade, it could be a Hellhammer, it could be a Doom Hammer, it could be a Shadow Sword. It doesn't really matter. I'm just talking, I'm an old school player. I always talk about Baneblades like that sort of catch-all term for Guard Super Heavies. So that's really, really good. That sort of covers the durability improvements that we've received from the balanced data slate. Now let's talk about the improvements to Hammer of the Emperor, because this is absolutely incredible, guys. So now all of our units basically have access to Hammer of the Emperor now. So previously, in the last data slate, GW had said, right, well, Guard get it and maybe Scions get it, but then they went, no, Scions definitely don't get it. And now they've rolled that back and they've said, right, everything Guard gets Hammer of the Emperor. That doesn't matter if it's an advisor, doesn't matter if it's an auxiliary, doesn't matter if it's a scion. Everyone gets Hammer of the Emperor now. Now, for those that don't know what Hammer of the Emperor is, it's an absolutely fantastic army-wide special rule that we've got, where if you get a 6 to hit in the shooting phase, then you get an automatic wound. Okay, which is really, really good. Now, combined with Scions, this is actually insane. I mean, it's okay going on the advisor stuff, you know. I'm not that bothered about that. But yeah, Ogren is still not great. But the fact that Scions now get access to this is just incredible. A unit of Scions, which costs you 90 points, can jump out of a transport into, or just get into rapid fire range, and will do 36 shots with first rank fire, second rank fire. Bear in mind that you now can put multiple orders on across, one order can affect multiple units, so it's not even that difficult to put first rank fire, second rank fire on multiple Scion units, and they'll get 36 shots. That means on average they'll get 6 auto wounds every single time they fire. Now they keep their AP value, so if you're going to like Land and Lions, every time you fire a 90 point 10-man Scion squad, you are going to get 6 auto wounds at AP3. It doesn't matter that your hotshot lasguns are only strength 3 now, guys. It doesn't matter at all. All you're looking at is volume of fire and AP. And Scions can bring volume of fire, and they have AP in spades. So you know how I was doing really well by spamming loads and loads of conscripts? Imagine if I was able to spam conscripts, but they actually had AP3 on every single shot. How insane would that be? Well, that's basically what Scions can do. So I think that the implications for this is that Scions now overnight become one of the best ways you can run your competitive Imperial Guard force now. They do damage. They are cost effective. This affects your Taurox Prime as well. So could anyone say Daka Prime? Each time a Daka Prime opens up, it's going to get 5 auto wounds on average, because you've got your 20 shots from your Gatling, your 8 shots from your hotshot volley guns, and then if you've slapped on a Stormbolt for 3 points, you're getting another 2 to 4 shots, all at 24-inch range. So that's an average of 5 shots. So if you've got 10 Scions jumping out of that Taurox, and they're all firing into the same target, you're looking at 11 auto wounds on top of all of the other damage. Don't forget, just because you didn't auto wound doesn't mean you don't still get the chance to hurt things. Don't forget that. So I think it's really, really powerful. And honestly, my summary of the implications for this on Scions is, like I said, I think they become one of the top tier ways of running Guard again. About a year ago, when I was running my Scions competitively and I was just absolutely hammering them, I said that they were the best way of running Guard. But then things like Cajun came out, things like Hammer of the Emperor came out, and so I said Scions were still good, but they were now kind of not, regular Guard was better. Now Scions are back as the glory boys, and they are certainly worth considering, guys. So top tier tip is try out some Scions, because the way they get it is either you can take Scions mixed into your Guard detachment and they still get Hammer of the Emperor but they don't get a regiment trait, or if you take a pure Scion army and they're all the same Tempestus regiment, so you can't take some Gorgons and some Land and Lions. They've got to either be all Gorgons or Land and Lions or whatever other regiment you want to take, but if they've all got the same regiment, then they get Hammer of the Emperor, just to be clear there. But it's really, really good. So summary of this, guys, Scions are back, baby. Scions are back on the menu. So the balanced Dataslate was really good for the Guard in terms of getting new rules, and has certainly given us a good power boost. The points changes we've had are not as good news. In fact, when I first saw these points changes, I thought that they were actually really weak, and I was quite salty about it. So I'm going to quickly summarise all the points changes. Like I said, this can be seen on the screen in the pictures that are coming on, and you can see the description. But Commisar Yarrik went up by 5 points. Company Commanders didn't go up, but you can now get some free upgrades, like a free power sword or bolt pistol on him. Lord Commissars are minus 5 points because the power sword is essentially free now. Tempestor Prime is base unchanged, but you can now take the command rod for free, which means they're essentially 5 points cheaper. Tempestus Scions now get free Voxcasters, and the Tempestor, the sergeant weapons, are now all free. So every sergeant can get a free plasma pistol and a free power sword if you want to. Bullgryns became just cheaper, just 5 points cheaper. Command squads became, the points stayed the same, but now all non-weapon upgrades are free. So that's your medic, your flag, your Voxcaster are free, and your sniper rifle is free as well. But your plasma, your melter, your flame grenade launcher, anything like that, you've still got to pay for that. Your Commissar is unchanged, but he gets a free Boltgun now. Scion Command Squads, same as other Command Squads, they get non-weapon upgrades now free. Platoon Commander, unchanged, but like the senior officer, he gets like a free power sword essentially now. Special weapon squads actually went up by 5 points, but all weapon options are now free, which means if you were taking them with melter or plasma or anything like that, they're now actually 4 points cheaper. So actually, overall, they're 4 points cheaper. Veterans went up by 5 points, but now most of the sergeant upgrades are free. Heavy flamers, Voxcasters, sniper rifles, and heavy weapons are also now free. So they almost got the same treatment as regular infantry squads, but they still got to pay for their plasma and their melter and their grenade launcher and the flamers. But they don't have to pay for sniper rifles or any heavy weapons. The heavy weapon squad stayed the same, except now all of them are free, but you're going to be running with mortars. All of the weapons are now free, but you're going to be running with heavy weapons with mortars anyway, so not really a change. As mentioned before, all Beyblade variants and sponsors are now 20 points cheaper. The Vendetta gets slightly cheaper. This is on the Forge World side of things. The Vendetta gets slightly cheaper heavy bolters. The Stormblade is apparently 20 points cheaper, and also the sponsons now are apparently only 10 points each, although that is probably a mistake. So don't go out there and buy a Stormblade just yet. Wait a couple of weeks, and then if that doesn't change, then it means that Stormblades actually become probably one of the best super heavies we've got access to, because you can take a Stormblade with a bunch of sponsons for about 400 points, which is actually really nice, combined with Armor Contempt, 2 Sable, that good stuff. And the Vulture sadly got 5 points more expensive with the Gatling cannons, which is a shame, because that's really the only real reason to take the Vulture is with those with the Gatling cannons. So those are the summary of the points changes. Now let's go through the implications of the points changes. So for me, some of these points changes are kind of welcome, but some of them are really head scratching. And my overall impression here is that it feels like GW got a really positive reception from all the infantry squad upgrades being free. So they were like, fuck it, let's roll that out again. Lightning always strikes twice, am I right? And unfortunately, I don't think it quite works applying it to like half of the Guard army. So the points upgrade that makes me go, that's just weird, is Commisar Yarrik going up by 5 points. No one was taking him anyway in a competitive sense. My theory is maybe they are expecting orcs to suddenly make a massive resurgence, so like relative to the meta, he's going to get more useful. But honestly, guys, I have no idea why they put Commisar Yarrik up by 5 points. That almost seems like it was done by like an AI rather than by an actual person. Company, like I said, company commanders and Lord Commissars and things getting like free power sword stuff isn't going to make a difference, because you're never going to take a Lord Commissar on a competitive list anyway, and B, you don't really care if your company commander's got like a free bolter or a free power sword. He's very, very rarely going to use it. It doesn't really mean anything. Your commanders want to be out of line of sight, trying to get some sweet inflexible command points we'll be talking about later. Or, that's basically all they want to be doing, orders and buffs and using Voxcasters and stuff. You don't want your company commanders being on the front line with that power sword. It's a really, really bad idea. So it's nice that you can now take fluff upgrades for free, but competitively has very little impact. I think the ones that actually have the biggest impact is the command squad changes, maybe the special weapon squad changes a bit, but really the veteran change. And I should have also said armor. If I didn't mention it, armor Sentinels. Now all Sentinels have gone up by 5 points, but all the weapons cost the same. So basically, you pay 40 points for Sentinel, and it's either got a multi-laser or a las cannon. You pick. Now, but I think the real changes for the real important changes are to the command squads and to the veterans. You see now, command squads getting all their flags and their Voxcasters and stuff free is really good, because it means it helps them play into some of our new secondaries. So our new secondaries, like Inflexible Command, where you need to be, an officer needs to be within range of a command squad with a Voxcaster, and then within like 24-inch range of another unit with a Voxcaster, and then if everyone's in that sort of 24-inch bubble, then you get like 2 victory points. Now that you don't have to pay for the command squads to do that, it's really, really good. So command squad buffs are actually very strong and really tie in well with our secondary changes. And veterans, interestingly, that ties in well with the CP changes. You see, with the change to CP, it's now really hard for Guard to justify taking multiple detachments. Most people are going to be looking at some way of taking a brigade, right? Now, the thing is, with like a battalion, if you want to take a battalion and not take all the attacks from brigade, you're stuck to 6 troop choices. Now, unless you're running Cadian, you don't really want to be taking, if you're running Cadian, it's not so bad because you can take 2 squads of 30 Scions and 4 squads of infantry, and you've got your prerequisite sort of minimum of 100 infantry to have a viable competitive list, hybrid list. But with veterans now essentially being 70 points base, and you get like the heavy weapon with them and the Vox with them, and yeah, it's only the sniper rifles, but fine. That actually basically makes veterans just an extension of infantry squads. So if you don't like conscripts and you want to take basically just enough infantry to cover your ass, take 6 squads of infantry and then 6 squads of veterans now, and just treat the veterans as essentially slightly expensive additional line infantry. That's how I'm seeing it work. I think it's actually quite good for the veterans. Also makes me think, like, if you're taking like a mechanized list and you've got 6 squads of infantry and chimeras, why not spend 10 points and get 3 of those squads upgraded to veterans, and then maybe they're not jumping out the chimera with plasma, but they're going to be jumping out with a free heavy flamer and like a free las cannon and like a free plasma pistol on the sergeant. So it's, to me, that actually makes more sense than trying to ambush, jump out and get people with like armored fist squads, So that's how I see the sort of the best point change to command squads and to veterans. Armor Sentinels are really nice. The issue with Armor Sentinels is that with going up to 5 points base with getting las cannons, is that it's really good if you're taking a battalion and you're taking like a single group of Armor Sentinels and you were taking them to take advantage of the strike first, strike hard stratagem, because now that unit essentially got 30 points cheaper. But if you were wanting to take a brigade and you were essentially taking 3 Sentinels as tax units, then the problem you've got there is that your tax just went up by 15 points. So the Sentinel one is good, but it's kind of a double-edged sword. I think it's great for mechanized battalions. I think it's a slight nerf, 15-point nerf, to those people that were taking hybrid guard in a brigade, and that was how they were planning on adapting to the to the new CP changes. So overall, that's how I see the points changes. That's how I see them sort of affecting the guard. Now, what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to quickly summarise where do I think guard is now, and where do I think the competitive edge and the competitive list style for guard are now going to be. So in terms of the summary of these changes, I think that it makes guard really quite powerful again, and I think it pushes us out of the quagmire of bottom tier and puts us into legitimately a more sort of mid-tier position. I think it's really interesting GW handing out quite powerful army-wide buffs to the guard. For example, Hammer of the Emperor actually made guard relevant again. Not like powerful, but people had to be aware of us again. Before Hammer of the Emperor, people literally didn't even take guard into account when they were thinking, right, what am I going to do at this tournament? Then it put guard back in contention. You had to kind of be aware of that mad lad running 360 conscripts. How are you going to deal with that? Armour of Contempt is similar, but we've now got 2 of these really strong buffs just sweeping the guard, and combining that with some of our new secondaries like Boots on the Ground, Inflexible Command and stuff like that, I think it makes guard actually solid mid-tier. Like I said, I think people are now going to see more guard tournaments, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see guard creep up that win rate to maybe a sort of consistent 40%. That's what I'd like to see. We're definitely going to see a lot of guard players hitting the tournament scene again. So it might take a few weeks or something, but I expect us to claw our way up to sort of finally above that sort of 30% rate, and maybe up to 40, 45%, 50%. I'd like to see most guard players getting a solid 50% win rate. That would be my hope that we'd see that. Now, in terms of what I think are the best ways of running your guard army now, I think that there are 3 solid ways of running your guard army, and the top way of running your standard guard, we're not talking science here, your standard guard, I think is going to be mechanized guard. And this is because Mech Guard take advantage of pretty much all of the new buffs we've got, from points changes to Armour of Contempt to Hammer of the Emperor to secondaries. So in terms of points changes, if you're running Met Guard, you're going to, and also CP changes, I should say, you can fit a decent Met Guard army in a single brigade. That means you don't need to worry about spending loads of CP on extra attachments. Great. Also, you can take advantage of the cheaper armor Sentinels, because you can take 3 armor Sentinels with las cannons now and use strike first, strike hard, and you're going to be having a great time because it's going to be 30 points cheaper than you were doing it. Gives you a bit more extra firepower. Those Sentinels are going to be more durable, and speaking of durability, those Chimeras you're going to be taking are also going to be more durable. Armor Contempt is going to really boost up those units. So you're taking advantage of points changes, you're taking advantage of Armor Contempt, you're taking advantage of CP changes, and also things like Chimeras actually have a really decent rate of fire. If you've got a Chimera with a multi-laser, a heavy stubber, las gun arrays, and a storm bolter, and you're within 12-inch range, you're looking at 6 shots from the multi-laser and the heavy bolter. You're looking at another 12 shots from the las gun arrays, which is 18 shots in total, and then another 4 shots storm bolter. That's 22 Hammer of the Emperor shots. So you're looking at almost 4 auto wounds from each Chimera that you're running. And some of those have got AP, some of them don't, but overall, you're putting out a lot of auto wounds. So you're taking advantage of Hammer of the Emperor, which is really, really good. Now, so that's why I think Met Guard are in a really strong position. Another army that I think is going to do really well out of this is Scions. Your Taurox Primes now Taurox Primes have got Armor of Contempt, which is great. The best way of running Scions, in my opinion, is mechanized Scions. You don't want to worry too much about Valkyries. Valkyries are okay, but I've run Valkyries with Scions. This was admittedly about 6 months ago, and I always found that Taurox Primes were cheaper, more firepower. Just overall, I just found them more durable. So, which sounds crazy, but because they're smaller, you can hide them and all this kind of good stuff. So I just found Taurox Primes did more DACA and were easier for me to get the jump on the enemy. Whereas if I went second, people could just pick my Valkyries out of the sky. It was really sad. Now, Scions have got the rate of fire to take advantage of Hammer of the Emperor. They can spam enough Tauroxes. I mean, in a Scion army, you should be running a minimum of 5 Tauroxes. I've seen good Scion armies running 7 or 8 Taurox Primes and just smashing all of the DACA that they can. Now, that's actually going to be really good because you want to be taking more Taurox Primes because you're going to be taking less multiple small squads of Scions because you're going to still try to be fitting things in a single detachment. Now, another great thing about Scions getting some sort of free upgrades, stuff like free Voxcasters and everything, and is that because you're going to be and getting Hammer of the Emperor, because you're going to be taking bigger squads of Scions now, you want to be able to take advantage of Hammer of the Emperor even better. So if you've got like a big 10-man rifleman squad that can, as we said, jump out of a Taurox Prime, it's going to get a lot of Hammer of the Emperor with first rank fire, second rank fire. Same with Taurox Prime. So Scions, I think, are going to be really, really good. I think Met Guard and Scion Guard are 2 of the best ways of running your guard now. Now, I think the third way of running guard really, really effectively is going to be with hybrid guard. Now, the reason I'm talking about hybrid guard is I think it actually allows you to take advantage of the secondaries really, really effectively. Because if you're taking mechanized guard, then you're going to struggle to take advantage of inflexible command. Because if you're infantry and chimeras, they don't count as being on the table, so they don't count as being able to be in range of officers, so you can't get flexible command. Whereas if you're running hybrid guard, and by hybrid guard I mean you've got tanks, artillery and infantry, but you're not running a lot of like chimeras or anything like that. Your infantry, you can have like 100 to 150 infantry. They're going to be relatively easily blobbed around your characters. And all your infantry are now going to be having free upgrades as well. Also, you can take advantage of inflexible command with having tanks on the field and near tank officers so you can get more points. So hybrid guard should be able to get 3 points of inflexible command every single turn. They should also be able to get an easy 3 points off boots on the ground every single turn as well, which is great. You should also be able to do the expunge data one fairly easily as well when it comes up, which is great. So hybrid guard can really take advantage of the new secondaries. You can also take advantage of the new points changes as well. So you're going to get, the command squads are going to be helpful for secondaries as well. And also, in terms of like CP changes, if you're running a brigade but you don't want to run Cajun, but you want to have your sort of prerequisite like 120 to 150 infantry, you can take advantage of your sort of weird pseudo line infantry veteran squads now. So you can take 12 infantry squads and you can take 3 squads of veterans. And it's basically like taking 15 squads of infantry, but guess what? You're not having to spend points on conscripts. You're getting all good infantry, which is great. So, I mean, overall, I just think that Hybrid Guard are going to be really able to take advantage of... They don't take massive advantage of one area of buffs. Like Met Guard massively takes advantage of Armor of Contempt, but doesn't, and a bit in terms of points changes and CP, but it doesn't really take massive advantage in terms of secondaries. Likewise, like Scions are sort of in a similar boat. Pure Infantry can take, can't take advantage of those secondaries as well. All of these sort of more niche skew armies can take advantage of rules, but they can't take advantage of like secondaries. In fact, Pure Infantry Guard in a funny sort of way came off worse here because you didn't get access to like anything new. Armor Contempt doesn't really apply to you. Pure Infantry is still strong. You're just not getting advantage of all those like new rules like Armor Contempt and stuff. So that's why I think those three armies have come out on top, because Hybrid Guard, you can take advantage of all of the bits, but you can't really lean into one of them. And the other two, you can really focus on certain secondaries and really focus on really taking advantage of certain aspects of the balanced data slate and points changes. So overall, that's what I think about these new changes. So that's it for today's video, but before we sign off, I want to say a huge thank you to all of the channel members and Patreon supporters of the Mordian Glory channel. It is down to the generous support of these channel members, of these Patreon supporters, that the Mordian Glory channel is going from strength to strength. And to be honest, the fact that it's still here. So massive thank you to all of the channel members and all of the Patreon supporters. And I want to say a personal thank you and a personal shout out to all of our most recent channel supporters. So I want to say a huge thank you to Ayani Forever, David De Los Santos, Springy Shelf 6, Thomas Gilliam, Lincoln Games, Alex Hilston, Steve T, Commissar Drago, Tucker Swain, Alex Wargamer, JP Greer, Timothy Nederita, BMO, Lee Whitehouse, R. Pate, Bob the Gene Stealer, Kai Tilley, Destroy Standard Bearer, Joseph Mahisco, Med Wright, Matt Wilson, Christopher Miller, Jonathan Udbai, Zarkin, Craig Mitch and probably Coco, who have all joined the channel this week. Absolutely incredible. Massive thank you to everyone. You guys are just... It's incredible how much the channel membership has exploded. I also want to say thank you to our latest Patreon supporters. Huge thank you to Ben Thorne for signing up as a Vox operator, and to Alan Harfin Stream for signing up as a conscript, Marcus Roberts for signing up for a sergeant, Timothy Jägermeister for signing up as a sergeant, Jesse Cashman for signing up as a conscript, and Nick Walsh for signing up as a Lord General. Now, I want to say a huge personal heartfelt thank you to all of the top tier Patreon supporters. Those people who have really gone above and beyond when it comes to their generosity and their support for the Mordian Glory channel. So I want to say a personal thank you to Guardian Varney for signing up at above the Lord General level, to John Stubbs, Nick Walsh and Swordfish Trombone for signing up as Lord Generals, the top tier of Patreon support. You guys are all incredible. Thank you so much. I also want to say a shout out to Diesel Fox and Shooter McGavin for signing up at the Commissar level as well, a very high tier of Patreon support. Massive thank you to all of you guys. It's thanks to your support that genuinely, guys, it's life changing. It's thanks to the support of all my Patreons, of all my top tiers, of all of my channel members that are now able to do the Mordian Glory channel full time. So thank you, boys. I know I say it every time, but genuinely it's life changing. So thank you. But we'll leave that bit there for now. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.